Hello, Dr. Dave here with you again. Now, that was back in Mexico City in 1970, 1971, and 1972. I was there in the summer all three of those years. That's when I really got to know Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers. And this is the man that I knew back in Mexico City in 1970, 71, and 72. He looked exactly like this police sketch of D.B. Cooper. And this is what he told me about being locked in the closet by his foster parents who abused him frequently. We're back here on my ranch in South Texas. It's Halloween Eve, the witching hour. As you can see, the weather's kind of strange. The cows are out grazing a little bit. I've cut down some trees out there so you can get a better view of the ranch. I have a couple of stories I want to tell you. I haven't done a video in a while, and I think it's time. A couple of things that I remembered about my friend Frank Morris, who claimed he was the Zodiac killer, and there's no question in my mind he was. One thing that he told me about was how his foster parents used to beat him and lock him in a closet. There's also a couple of things I'd like to tell you about some times that he tried to attack me and kill me. One time I was only 4 or 5 years old, and I look up from my bed and him and the Anglin brothers are out there, and John's pointing a gun at my head of my bed, and I can hear Frank telling him, we'll just shoot him in his bed. I'm going to tell you that story, and got out of that. The dogs are going to be barking at the cows. Shut up! But today I want to tell you about how Frank acted the time he told me about how his foster parents would beat him and throw him in a closet. Now he asked me, he said, have your parents... We're talking about, parental punishment. And he asked me, have your parents ever locked you in a closet? And I told him no, and he goes, well, don't ever go in there. And I go, why? And he goes, because there are demons in there. I thought he was kidding, and I go, what? He goes, I'm not kidding. He says, if you ever go in there, even by accident, and you get locked in, I can promise you, when you come back out, you won't be the same person. He told me, he said, don't even play games with your sisters where they might lock you in there by accident. He was very, very adamant about that closet. He said that that's where he got his demons. He said that you wouldn't be the same person when you came out. And he told me that if it ever happened to me, I would end up being like him. And I remember thinking, wow, that's, why would he say that? And I said, gee, I'd like to be like you. I think you're pretty cool. Little did I know, I'm dealing with a man with a split personality, and I'm only seeing the good personality until night comes and he starts stalking. He said, you don't want to be like me. And I didn't understand why he was saying that. Well, he was trying to tell me I didn't want to be a murderer. Now, he went on to talk about being beat and thrown in a closet, and he really went into this state of mind where you could tell that he was in severe depression and anger at the same time. He almost started to cry, and he was trying to keep from yelling, and he was just livid with anger. what I call spitting mad. And he was kicking the wall and hitting it with his fist and talking about they beat you and kick you and punch you and kick you, and then they throw you in the closet. They throw you in that, he said, and they throw you in that damn closet. Real lot of anger in his face when he said that. I'm not an actor, so I can't really do it for you, but he said they throw you in that damn closet, and he said they smashed my head into the wall, and he said they slammed the god darn door and lock it, and it's dark in there. And I just kind of giggled, and he says, you know, I know you think darkness is not a big deal because you sleep in the dark all the time, but when you're thrown into a closet and locked in there, that's a darkness like you're never going to see again. And he kept on, and he says that's a portal to another world. And I go, what do you mean? And he says, just don't ever get locked in there, or you're going to find out what's on the other side of that closet. I mean, this really was a place to him that connected to hell. That's where he claimed he got his demons from. I can see from him explaining that to me, and what I know now about what little bit I know about psychiatry, being a doctor. That he really changed when he was in that closet and became the evil murderer that he is. Somehow, the vengeance of murder to him was recompense for being beaten and locked in a closet. I'm going to tell you about the time when I was 4 or 5 years old, maybe, when these guys first started stalking me in Tampa, Florida. They were between prison breaks. They were breaking out of prison all the time. They broke out of every prison they were ever put in. People think that Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers split up when they escaped from Alcatraz. Well, these guys never split up. They've been together since they were very young, possibly kids. I don't know. I know there was a girl that lived down the street from me. I went to her house to play one day, and they were there, and Frank looked a lot like that girl, so I think he was related to her. They tied me up and tried to cut my throat. I got lucky and got away. But there was another time when they got around my house, and I was in my bed asleep. Before I tell you that, I want you to know that I'm still working on my book. I can't find an editor, not one that I feel is going to really do the book justice. You know, I can edit it myself. I just really don't have the time. But maybe things will change and I'll spend more time on it. I've done a couple of pages. And it needs to be rewritten because I keep remembering all these things that happened to me with these guys. And, you know, it's such a heavy mystery on me now in this point in my life that I'm remembering all these attacks that these guys, you know, how could it be possible that I could meet up with these guys like 3 different times in my life and survive their attacks? I just don't get it. I don't know. Anyway. This day, I want to explain a little something to you. We lived in a house that had a screened-in porch. It looked kind of like this, only if you can see that fence down there, if you can kind of pretend like that fence right there is a solid wall, that ends right there, and then it's screen all the way up. But the wall comes up to about chest height on these guys, and there's a row of bushes on the other side of it. Now, I used to go out in the day, and I'd get under those bushes, and I'd crawl from end to end and play when I was a little boy. Now, one day I hear, and it's Frank's voice, because I knew him when he was older, and I've been able to make that association. He says, "We're gonna get him. We'll get him. Don't worry." And he goes, "Can you see him in there?" And I looked up, and I saw John Anglin. He looked like a child holding a gun like this, a gun that they've stolen from my father. And he's going like this, and he's looking at the head of the bed, and he's going back and forth with the gun. His head's not even lined up with the gun, and he's holding right in front of his face. If he was fired, it's going to hit him in the face. But the FBI classified him as a bumbler anyway. But, big, powerful guy and a good fighter. But anyway, I'm sure he, little by little, learned to use the gun. Well, he's pointing at the head of the bed, and it just so happens I'm at the foot of the bed. Now, the bed's like this. There's a cover like this. And I'm laying here in the covers, but I'm looking up like that. And John says, "I can't see him. I don't see him." And I could see he was looking at the head of the bed, and I'm thinking, well, he don't see me, but I better not move. And Frank goes, "Let me see." And he gets up and he looks. Frank was no dummy. He looks from one end of the bed to the other, and he sees me down there, sees my eyes. And he goes, "Oh, hell, there he is right there. He's looking right at us." And and John sees him, and he goes, "Well, and Frank goes, 'Give me the gun.'" And when he said that, I'm only 4 or 5, but I just know something's wrong, right? And John had already put the gun down. Frank reaches over, down, around waist level, or below the wall anyway, to get the gun. And when I saw that was my opportunity. Here's the blanket. It's on the bed. I slid off the bed and underneath the bed, and slid the blanket off the bed so it would pile up at the foot of the bed. And I heard Frank say, "Ah, hell, he's got to be there in the covers. I'm just going to shoot into the covers." And, to keep him from shooting, I grabbed the cover and jerked it under the bed, because I figured he probably wouldn't shoot into the bed. And if he did, hopefully he wouldn't hurt me. I felt like I had cover anyway. Well, when he saw the cover go under the bed, he goes, "Ah, hell, he's under the bed." And he goes, I made my way to the other corner of the bed. There was a wall right here, and I crawled out and run around that wall and took off. And Frank saw me, and he goes, "Ah, hell, he's getting away." And I went in the house, and I got my mom, and she came out, and I told her that these guys were after me, that they were pointing a gun at me. And she goes, "Well, it must be a toy gun." She couldn't believe that, something like that would happen. America just wasn't used to that kind of thing back then, especially not where I lived. Most people didn't even lock their doors at their houses in the day or at night, as people knew each other. And sometimes if a person had a problem, they would go to their friend's house and just walk in. They wouldn't, knock on the door and walk in. But anyway, we get out there, and I told my mom, I said, they're right there in the bushes. And she says, "Well, I don't see anybody." And we couldn't see into the bushes. We were walking over that way. And I believe I said something about my mom's got her gun with her. And when I did, you could see the bushes out there rustle from right there where they were at all the way to the end of the bushes. And these guys were getting out of town. And I told my mom, "Look, there they go." And she goes, she thought it was a dog. And I'm like, I don't know. You know, I kind of forgot about it because I didn't really realize what was going on, and my mom played it off as being a toy gun. So what happens after that is I decided these guys are in my play area out there under the bushes, and I don't like it. So I went out in the garage and I got a box of roofing nails, and I poured them down there at the end, at the corner of the house, in an area about 5 or 6 feet circle, so that they couldn't get through there to get to me without getting stuck. And I calculated the time I thought they would be there the next day, and I went to the front of the house over here, and I hid in front of the house and watched underneath the house, because I could see all the way over there and I could see their legs. And sure enough, around the time they usually show up, they come crawling around over there. I could see them standing up at first and smoking their cigarettes, and then saying a few things and getting down on their knees and start crawling in, and all of a sudden, ow, ow, ow! What the hell? And Frank goes, oh, geez, he put roofing nails here to keep us from getting over there. And John says, well, let's pick them up. And John goes, nah, they go all, and Frank said, nah, they go all the way over there. Come on, let's go. We'll get him some other time. And they left. Now that's, I think, maybe one of the first attacks. There are several more. They attacked me in the alley twice on my way to the gas station, where I would get sodas and that kind of thing. And the thing that I remember that really, really kind of breaks my heart is there was a gentleman that worked here at the gas station. I really liked the guy, kind of fatherly, I guess, or whatever. And one of the times that they tried to grab me in the alley, I run to the gas station and got him, and he come over there, and he called the police for me, and they helped me get home. And I don't know if it was that day or the next day or maybe on the weekend, but I went to the gas station, and the gas station was open, and there was nobody there. And later on, a manager showed up, and he said that they couldn't find the guy who worked there. Now, I saw some FBI records on the Anglin brothers, Frank and the Anglin brothers, that they were arrested for robbing a gas station, and I believe, and somewhere in Florida. I don't know if it said Tampa or not, and I believe that may have been the incident. And they were also arrested for abducting somebody, and I believe that may have been what it was. I'm just hoping that gentleman, you know, lived a full life, and these guys didn't kill him or something, because that's what they did with everybody else that they abducted. A couple more attacks. I tried to climb. They tried to attack me when I was climbing a sign. I don't know how we got out of that. Got lucky. My mom came out and she told them she had a gun, and they decided to leave. And then there was a time in a tree that I was climbing up a tree, and I looked down, and there's John Anglin coming up after me. It's kind of spooky out here. These things are all very difficult to believe. I know people want to say, you know, how could it be? But, you know, I've lived with this all my life. This has been in the back of my mind, in my memory, blocked out, forgotten, for whatever reason. But now that I've done a lot of research and studying on these criminals, I really have been able to bring back a lot of things from my memory that are very, very scary. I'm lucky that I lived through it all. And, you know, I don't know what it's for, but I'm going to tell you the story just so that you'll know the truth, because if there's any revenge that I can get on this killer, these killers, for what they tried to do to me and what they did to a lot of my friends, the revenge is going to be in revealing the truth about them. I don't know if it'll ever become anything. I'm having trouble finding an editor for my book. I've sent out letters to agents to try and get an agent to help me find a producer to make a movie out of this. I really think the thing that's going to work best is for me to start editing my own book. and get it out there so that I can get the story out. Happy Halloween.